a little bit about Lincoln. Obviously a guy that while he was recruiting you was getting maybe not his big break, but his second really big break. Just talk. I've spoken extremely highly of Lincoln over the years. I know a lot of OU fans, have feel some type of way about him, with his departure going to USC. But from an X's and O's standpoint, from a culture standpoint, I really think that there's not a whole lot that are better than him. So as he was recruiting you and then having the opportunity to play for him, just talk a little bit about what that meant to you, what he meant to you, and your thoughts on Lincoln Riley.
Yeah. So let me preface my experience at OU was from 2017 to 2021. And looking back over that time period, those were some valuable years in terms of just being with Lincoln, seeing Bob come back, seeing Bob leave, winning all those Big 12 championships, going from just an 8-win team a couple of years before that, back when you guys were there, and then going on that run that we had. And so seeing all the change and seeing Link go from being an OC to head coach, transferring out, I've been able to look back now, it's 2024, and just go, man, not only did I learn a lot from that, but I'm sure that he did as well. So growing up in high school, we always, knew East Carolina was pretty decent. But when I was there in high school and visiting, Eastern Carolina was whooping up on teams. I'm talking Virginia, Chapel Hill, North Carolina State. And so you just knew that Lincoln had he was special in some way, to go from Eastern Carolina to be whooping up on D1 schools. That'd be like University of Tulsa, competing with the University of Oklahoma and winning. And so when he got to OU and I saw what he was doing there, Connor, I think it might have been your last year, 2015, 16. Dede Westbrook, Baker comes in, Trev, you're there. All that type of stuff is going on. And he still finds a way to win. Okay. That was special. Now, what I will say is when I got to OU in January of 17, Lincoln wasn't the head coach yet.
Okay, Bob was still a head guy until
Bob was still the head guy. As a matter of fact, it was Bob, Jay Boulware, and what was the receivers coach that I had? I would remember his name any other day. But those three guys came to my house for my house visit. I didn't even see Lincoln actually.
Was it
Lincoln did pull up for my house visit. Yeah, Lincoln did pull up for my house visit. Okay. And so Lincoln was still the second guy. Now, what I've kind of gathered looking at the very beginning of Lincoln compared to head coach Lincoln is that Lincoln was much more relaxed as an offensive guy. He was that was his sweet spot, in my opinion. That's where everybody on offense didn't really feel overwhelmed a little bit. And then just hearing the stories. Now, 17, he becomes the head coach. And now I'm talking to, I'm not going to list any names, but guys that were there pre-Lincoln and the guys that were their head coach. He started tightening down a little bit, figuring out his way as a head coach. And as the years went on, you could feel that tighten up just a little bit more each year. And I feel that Lincoln had to grow up a little bit, and not necessarily the mindset didn't necessarily change, but the way that he carried himself changed a little bit. He didn't joke around as much. He was much more serious. I felt like he was developing into this old head at such a young age. And I don't know if I necessarily liked it, but who am I to judge as an 18, 19-year-old kid to tell this man who's successful how to be a head coach? And so by the time I leave and by the time Lincoln moves to USC, he's not the same guy as what he was as when he first got there. And now I'm able to see this now, 25 going on 26 this year. And so I don't know if the change was necessary, but we did see a change. And Lincoln was starting to think more he was trying to be more a Saban. He was trying to be more Venables, because he would always bring in those same speakers who had just left Clemson, who had just left Bama, He'd always pull from them, in which obviously who wouldn't? They're winning national championships, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like by the time 2020 comes around and 2021, that season, and then he ends up leaving, he's not the same guy as 2015 Lincoln. Okay, he's had to grow up a little bit, and so I'd say early Lincoln was a little bit more fun. I think latter Lincoln was a little bit more. I don't know. I feel like his heart kind of hardened up a little bit. Still the same, still love football, but it just wasn't the same. And obviously we see him go to USC. So my opinion on him leaving is that I'm appreciative. I'm so appreciative for Lincoln coming to go get a little old 3-star from Charlotte, North Carolina, who didn't have an offer bigger than Oklahoma. Lord have mercy. That changed my life. And that Oklahoma was the best decision I've ever made. But I don't know if I necessarily agree with how he left. I feel like we deserved, especially me as a captain, deserved a little bit more honesty. I don't know if that's me like thinking that I deserve that, because at the end of the day, I don't deserve anything. But I feel like it probably would have helped us as a fan base and us as a player at that time. So I still love Link because I'm grateful for me. Now, if you ask, one of the younger guys, they might say something else because, obviously. But at the end of the day, he gave me an opportunity and I took advantage of it. So for that, I'm gonna always say thank you.
Love that. Dude, I want to, so kind of speaking on Lincoln and, your road to OU, how much of watching what he was doing with fullback, specifically Dimitri, in games, how much did that get you fired up and like influence your decision to come to OU, knowing that you could be that guy in the offense?
Right. 2016, I don't mean to cut you off, but I know where you're going. 2016 and 2017, Dimitri Flowers is all I needed to see to reassure the fact that I was going to go to the University of Oklahoma. I was texting Meach every week just saying good luck, and we were just talking off and on. I remember he's playing Iowa State 2016, 2017. Mm-hmm. Joe's out, Samaje's out. Meach has to come in and play running back. I think Meach finishes that game with over 150, I think 160, 150, 170 total yards. Had like 2 touchdowns. And I remember seeing that game, and I had to make sure I had the right mindset, okay? I didn't want to be exactly like Dimitri, but I knew that if Lincoln was giving Dimitri the opportunity to have those touches in the backfield, then I knew at least the opportunity would be there for me. Now, whether I would be taking advantage of that and actually getting it and making it happen, who knew? But at least I knew that it was there. And so that was all I needed to say, hey, like, at that point, I had already committed, but seeing him actually, get in that role and grow over the years, I'm like, oh man, if I could just grow like he did, I'll be better. I'll be as good, if not better than Meach. And that was always the goal. I told him that. I told him on my official, and I told him when I was being recruited, I'm like, bro, I'm going to be better than you. Like, you're great and all, and you're Baker's guy. People love you, but I'm going to be better. And he knows that. I told him that to this day.
And I think that the position that you guys played, and let me take an aside. Do you guys, what means more to you? Do you want to be called an H-back, a fullback, or a tight end? I mean, what's the cool thing, right? When somebody approaches you and they ask you, hey, what position do you play? Yeah. If you say tight end, you're like, okay, you stick your hand in the dirt. Like, you got some grit to you. If you say H-back, you're like, okay, you can kind of do it all. You say fullback, now you're just a meathead, that can't catch the ball, can't get his head around when he's going in the flat. So what's the politically correct answer on that?
Man, look, when I first got there, I hated being called a fullback. I'm like, I am not a fullback. I am not, don't you call me a fullback, okay? I embraced H-back. That was my thing at the time. But honestly, as I got older, I didn't care what you called me because I knew you knew I was going to make plays. So
no doubt.
That was
it. And to Connor's question, I thought it was great that, Lincoln did a great job, I thought, during your tenure and Dimitri's tenure and really his whole time at OU of finding ways to use you guys in the offense to where it made sense.